Peace. Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First, let's talk about some disturbing comments that former President Donald Trump has made as he talks about what he plans to do for his next term to combat violence, saying that he would go as so far as to deploy military in cities that are quote unquote controlled by Democrats. We're going to check in with my brother Shinedu Wakorfor, diversity, equity, inclusion specialist, to get his take on that. Also, later on, can we talk about how the CBC is continuing their fight to call for Rosa Parks to have her first national holiday? If that happens, she will be the first woman in general to have a federal holiday. So we'll talk a little bit about that and how it impacts the culture. And then later, Lenny Kravitz says that black media doesn't support him, as he's been in the music business for over 2 decades now. The black rock and roll star said that, guess what? They just don't love me for black folks. And it speaks volumes about where we are in our mainstream musical expression. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Truly appreciate you for being here with us this afternoon. Folks, we are streaming on our number of different platforms. First, our home network of blackstarnetwork.com. Definitely go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free on all of your devices. Plus, you can also follow us on all social media platforms at Black Star Network. And of course, we need your support, folks. Financial donations are truly accepted because we want you to be full stakeholders and investors in this movement we are embarked upon. So make sure you go to blackstarnetwork.com and be a part of the great movement here. Also, we are streaming on Amazon News on your Amazon Fire TV. You can check us out there on Amazon Prime Video. We're also there, so make sure you go to Prime Video app under Live TV, The News, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, Live TV, The News. And we're also on Freevee, which we're on now under News. You can check this out at Black Star Network. And of course, we're on Plex TV, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just search for Black Star Network or find us under Live TV, The News and Opinion, right there on Plex TV. All right, folks, we are also streaming on social media under Roland Martin's social media page. So go to the Facebook page at social media, his Facebook page. But it is the YouTube chat. That is the chat that got everybody talking. That is the chat for our illustrious culture crew. And big shout out to the culture crew. There we go. Folks are checking in from around the country. Pastor Damon Blissett, Renee McZeal, Cindy Dean, Damon, I see you. Sister Debbie Muhammad, dear sister, thank you so much. Peace and blessings to you as well. Jamie P, I see you. Sister Pauline checking in from Cleveland. Jawan, Yvette, I see you. ABX girl, hey ABX girl, good to connect with you once again. My brother Conscious Thought is back in the chat. Alan D, what up? And so many more. And we see my sister Corinna Denise as well, who'll be joining us tomorrow, folks, as well. All right, folks, let's jump right into it. Got my brother Shinedu Wakorfor, diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist. He's also an activist and advocate as we talk about these big conversations. Let's jump into it, brother Shinedu. Peace and blessings to you, bro. How you feeling this afternoon?
Peace and blessings, man. I can't complain. I'm alive.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, folks, let's talk about what President Trump has said as to how he wants to combat violence in cities across the country. He gets very partisan in saying he wants to use the military. I'm not joking about this, folks. He said he would deploy the military in Democrat-controlled cities. Here's the latest from the Grio, and this is based on some rallies that President Trump has had across the country, as he is still considered to be the Republican front runner for the big seat of the White House, which is absolutely crazy. We talked about that. But here's what he said, according to the report, that while he's been on the campaign trail in Iowa this year, he said he was prevented as president from using his executive powers to use military units to combat crimes and violence in cities led by Democrats. In a hypothetical second term, the leading Republican presidential candidate suggested he would not again fold to pushback from within his administration or military leadership. The next time, we're not waiting, he said, as reported by the Associated Press. He added, we don't have to wait any longer. Trump has long called out cities such as New York, Washington, and Chicago for being crime dens, quote unquote, where city leaders are unable to address the violence and crime occurring under their watch. Brother Shanadu, what is this saying, bro? This is this is very, very concerning. And as we have this conversation about Trump, Biden, and even more about the upcoming national election in November of next year, this got to be a part of the conversation. This has to be the part of the conversation, especially for black voters, that you do have a president that will, quote unquote, use his executive power. And he got pushed back the last time from military leadership as well to not go as far. But he's hell bent on going as far, bro. What do you make of this?
Where was that energy on January 6th? That's my first question. But I think it's very crazy. I think, again, this is, sometimes in our lifetime we don't get to see things happen twice. This man is coming back again. We've seen this before. I think this is very dangerous. I think this is telling that this man believes that the government is a tool that belongs to him, that the military is his. He is not just the commander in chief, but creator and in chief. That's what he believes. Like, I really think he thinks he's a demagogue. And I don't think we should take this lightly, because if he does win, this is going to be his Avengers time, where he's going after everybody. So I think everyone should be taking this seriously. In my heart, I want to say that this is just bullshit and he's talking shit. But last time I did that, he got elected. So I don't want to rest on my laurels here. This man is dangerous, and he's telling you exactly what he will do. I would believe him.
And you know what, bro? To be honest, I would believe him too. I believe him too. If he can find a loophole in the law in some way, shape, or form, he's not going to just find the loophole. He is going to bust that joint wide open, right? And come through with whatever crazy ideas that he has. But you know what? This is not the first time he's said this. Now, I know when Trump usually say things like, he's going to do this and do that. When it comes, I always look at it. If it's in the interest of the greater good, and he keeps talking, he might be talking bull. But for stuff like this, where he can reign supreme, he can maintain control and power and dominate. He's not talking smack. He's talking for real. And I think that either way, it's very dangerous, to say the least, bro, to have a person in the big seat of the president to be talking about how he's going to issue the military. I mean, in Democrat-controlled cities that most of our people are in. You're talking about Atlanta, New York, Chicago, Washington. You're talking about Baltimore. You're talking about here in Los Angeles. You're talking about, these are the urban centers of this country. And guess what? Black folks in it. And let's keep it real, Sinead. When they're talking about violence in the city, who are they talking about? They talking about us.
Niggas.
They talking about us, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So can you imagine? And I'm saying this, and of course, if we look at the Congress, because some people, it's another thing to just be talking, but then you have to get congressional support. And if you look at the Congress and how it's all shaping up, and this is why I know my sister Corinna could appreciate this. Look at the people you put in Congress, or look at the people that gets elected in Congress, because those people will lay the groundwork for this type of decision making. It comes down to Congress. So if you don't put the right people in those congressional seats, and you are living, or you living in a state that's Republican controlled, and that Republican is an ally of Trump, than you talking about a person possibly rubber stamping an idea like this. So it's absolutely insane. Look, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I want to get more of what you got to say around this issue, Brother Sinead, and crew. I want to hear what you got to say as well. Post your comments in the chat on the Roland Martin's YouTube page. And let's continue the conversation on the other side about Trump's promise that he said he would deploy military in Democrat controlled cities once he gets elected, and he is not going to back down this time. What's your take on this idea? Stay with us, folks. We still got a lot to talk about in the first half of the culture right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money make this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We are talking about former President Donald Trump, the Republican presidential frontrunner, making some statements over these past few weeks as he's been doing rallies across the country. But in one rally in Iowa, he has made the statement that he would go as far as to deploy military in Democrat-controlled cities to combat the issue of violence in those cities. You're talking about major cities such as New York, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Los Angeles, Atlanta, that he would go as far as to use military to address these violent crime issues. And he said that last time he was held back by his staff and his administration and even some military leadership. However, he said that this time, once he gets based upon his plan to get back into the White House, he said that he is going to move forward without taking any of that advice in consideration. Talking to my brother Sinead Wakor, for diversity, equity, inclusion specialist and advocate and activist, as we look at this whole situation. Now, this is really came, brother Sinead, this came out of a situation in New York City where they had a hearing up in New York, and it was a congressional hearing on violent crime in New York City. And it was in that congressional hearing that some stats were shared about the uptick of violent crimes and major crimes in New York City. And one particular person, a Democrat by the name, he's a city councilman of New York, Robert Holden, who has been living in New York for a long time. He's a councilman. He testified at the special hearing in Manhattan that he's, quote, never seen the lawlessness he's seen today in his lifetime. And as a result of that hearing and as a result of that testimony, conservatives and folks like Trump and others have taken that message and ran with it and has used that as the basis for their campaign and strategy to put it out there that New York City and other Democrat-controlled cities are a real problem. Trump put out a tweet. Well, he posted. He said, let me pull up this tweet very quickly, but I want to get your take on this, Sinead, because he said that using Robert Holden's information, using that testimony, he goes on to talk about the fact that, you know what, here's a Democrat that is in City Hall and he doesn't know how to stop this crime, so that means that I'm going to stop this crime. And even though Mr. Holden is right, the stats and the data don't fully support this idea that New York is worse off now than it has been over the past 25 years or any other city. Yes, there has been an uptick in crime, but there are some factors leading to this. But of course, conservatives and Trump, they're not going to go too deep into helping people to connect the dots. They're just going to take that little snippet and run with it. This is dangerous, bro. This is truly, truly dangerous.
It's very dangerous for a multitude of reasons. For one, if Trump is going to be a Republican, stick to the Republican playbook. Republican is the party of small government. You sending the military, into these cities, that is overreaching to the mandate of what Republicans stand for. One. Two, I think people don't understand the word endemic, and people don't understand how things take time to manifest and fester. If you want to address these problems of anything, crime, all these issues, we have to go back. Nobody wakes up and becomes a criminal. And nobody just wakes up and says, I want to do bad things. And these cities a lot of these cities that we're talking about, whether it be the Chicago or the Detroits or the Baltimores of the world, let's go look into funding sources and how they've changed over the last 10, 20, 30 years. Let's look at corporations and job markets and how they moved out in 10, 20, 30 years. And let's juxtapose that to what was able to move into these cities. Because what I find interesting is as corporations leave, liquor stores and cash checking places are moving in and those things are allowed. So we have to look at, and I don't like this thing of blaming everything on the cities, because what's funny is these same cities that we love to blame, they're so crime-ridden, they are the art and the heart of the country.
Absolutely.
When you talk about America, you're talking about New York City.
Right.
When you're talking about most of our urban areas, you're talking about LA. You are talking about Chicago. These are, when you go outside of the country, these are the places that people are saying, not Kentucky, not Maine. So I really think a lot of this, again, is just what Trump does. It gets his base riled up because the issue in Republican politics is that there is a major problem. There is a calamity, and here I am to fix it. This calamity was existing when he was in his presidency, and he did nothing about it. And going after Democratic-ran cities alone is interesting because I would then ask, what about those Republican-ran cities that may not have a high crime rate, but have a high poverty rate? Are you going to do anything about that? And remember, you have to do crime rate per capita. Yes, major cities are going to have a high crime rate. They're a major city. But when you compare some of these major cities to some of these smaller cities that have similar crime rates, it's actually more alarming.
That's a great point. That's a great point. You do have to look at the population. Let me share what a couple of our crew members are saying as we talk about this, Brother Sinead. And folks, y'all can join us in the live chat right now on Roland Martin's YouTube page. Post your comments, and we'll try to get to as many of your comments as possible. Janelle, my sister, you said, let's talk about Trump as much as possible. Folks seem to have forgotten how horrible he is and misunderstand the threat of a second Trump administration. Yeah. So if y'all want to have that conversation more, this conversation more often in terms of talking about some of these ideas, and some of y'all have been really pumping out, hey, look at Trump, look at this idea that this thing called the Project 2025, look at all of these things that are happening. If we want to have more conversation, personally, I don't mind having conversation, but I don't want to bore everybody by keep talking about Trump, right? But if that is what needs to happen, then maybe we need to have those conversations every other day or every day. Keep you abreast as to how crazy the situation could possibly get. So I'm with you, Janelle. But if black folks in particular, black voters and often marginalized voters, if folks don't want to really think about Trump, and I'm going back to that point that you just made earlier, Sinead. You said, I took Trump, I thought he was lying, or I took him for granted, and guess what? He ended up getting elected. So we don't want to be in that space anymore. We don't want to take him for granted. I'm not saying you want to have to cling on to every single word that he said,
Right.
but just recognize that he is the front runner right now. Even though Nikki Haley is getting some shine, getting some support, he is still the front runner as of right now. So I don't think that we should just completely opt him out. So great point, Janelle. Thank you so much for checking in, sis. Who else has checked in here? Corinna, you said orange Jesus to victory and put us into modern slavery. There it is, right there. There it is. Cindy D, you said, remember, he's talking to mostly white racist audiences who will eat this up. But Cindy D, check this out, sis. I don't think he's talking to white racist audiences too, Brother Sinead, because guess what? There's a dissatisfaction among black people in this country around the issue of crime and violence. We are tired of seeing crime and violence in our neighborhoods. And come on, and let the church say amen. And some of us are getting to the point where we are living in these big cities. We are living in neighborhoods. We are hostages in our own homes, right? The cities have been under quote unquote Democratic control for 2025. I'm thinking about Baltimore and other cities that's been under Democratic control. And these cities folks don't feel safe. And so because people are so dissatisfied, I think that this conversation could potentially, kind of tap into the dissatisfaction that black people have with the state of their community. And we'll say, you know what? If you need to bring the military into the hood, why not? What's your take, bro? What's your thought on that? Dissatisfaction of black folks and us possibly calling for the military ourselves.
Yeah, and I think you make a really good point. Like, Trump is talking to anybody who will listen. Right. It's not just the white racists, because the white racists alone can't get him elected. He needs a mix. I really believe, and Republicans aren't feeling him, I really do believe he's talking to anybody who's fed up. There could be a man right now in West Baltimore who's done all he could, worked really, really hard, and is in the midst of crime and is upset that his house got broken into, and then he hears Donald Trump and says, you know what, at this moment, that's what I need. But the truth of the matter is, even sending in the military, I'll tell you now, sending in the military actually will not do anything. It will not do anything. And you know why it will not do anything? Because let's talk about business. Do you think corporations are going to want to come and do conferences and do business in a town filled with a big, huge military presence?
No, not at all, bro.
That's not how that works. That doesn't make the people who are coming feel safe. The people and it takes away from the culture living in a military control. If you don't believe it, go ask the people who was living in Afghanistan for the last 20-something years. It takes away from the culture of the place. I think his misguided anger and the misguided anger of the topic is less on we need to send XYZ into the cities. What we need to do if we're trying to make this a change is question the mayors who keep getting reelected and not doing shit, question the governors who are getting elected in these states who are not doing shit. And last and never the least, can we talk about the senators and House of Reps who are supposed to be representing these areas? And no one is having these conversations. We laud these national figures as House of Reps and senators. But are we actually asking them, are they doing anything for their districts? Are any of them doing anything for the places that they're from? And that becomes the question. It's bigger than the federal government actually can't do anything. How about that?
Right.
Has to be a localized solution, because one solution, I work in precision health medicine, and we always talk about how one pill does not work for everybody because you don't know everybody's side effects. So we can't use a one size fit all for this country. We're too diverse for that.
Absolutely. And you got to think about it. If the culture right now, and then we got to take another pause, but if the culture right now, Brother Sinedu, is stop crime at all costs, which has always been a priority for Black America, to stop crime, for us to live in safe and decent neighborhoods. But if this is the culture right now, and it starts to get added because of Trump's rhetoric, it's added because of the pain that we've been feeling. It's added because of the rising crime rates in Democrat-controlled cities. It may lead to a revision of what we saw back in 1994 with the 94 crime bill, where you saw Black people, Black elected officials, Black leaders who asked the White House to intervene at that time in driving down the crime rate in these cities across the country. So yeah, Joe Biden was a part of that process, but guess what? We can't forget the fact that Black men, Black women, Black leaders were also calling for that crime bill to be enacted, to be created, so that way we can try to live it. And sometimes, and I don't think that, that's one of those things that I don't think a lot of Black leaders really talked about and said, you know what, I was a part of that group that called for this, and we made some mistakes. We want President Biden to atone for that, but have we atoned for that? Because there were some Black folks sitting at the table. There were some Black folks that had advised President Clinton at that time, hey, we need something done. There were some Black folks that were sitting there and understood the implications and the consequences of this very broad, sweeping crime bill. So we have to I think it has to check us. We got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue to have some thoughts about this, especially, folks, when you're talking about in a lot of these major Democratic cities as it stands right now, a lot of their approach and their strategy is more trauma-informed crime prevention. That it's not always lock them up and throw away the key as it has been traditionally and historically, but now it's gotten a little bit more trauma-informed. Let's talk about what was the root cause of the perpetrator being this way and all of those things. And now it may force us to ask the question, is that a good strategy to have? Folks, we'll continue the conversation on the other side. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my brother Shanedu Wakwafor, as we talk about former President Donald Trump promising to deploy militaries in Democrat-controlled cities across the country to combat violence. This is an ongoing conversation, something the former president has been talking about wanting to do for a minute now. And he said if he's given the second opportunity, that guess what? He's not going to hold back this time. He's not going to listen to his administration. He's not going to listen to military people. He's going to find a way to make this happen. And of course, this is a huge conversation that we need to have, especially as Americans and Black voters go to the polls next year. But going back to that crime bill, Brother Shanedu, here's some interesting statistics around it. Back in 1994, at the time, according to a Gallup poll, 54% of Black voters were in support of the crime bill, whereas 49% of white voters were in support of the crime bill. So sometimes when you ask for something, especially in this climate, especially with this government, you might be very, very careful to make sure that you're prepared for the consequences of what you're asking for. But that's very telling. Mm-hmm. Black folks really did want this crime bill, and then guess what? This crime bill made us all victims in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. Fred Stockgate, you checked in. You said your children are dying in the streets and Democrats do nothing. This doesn't bother you? I think that's the point, Brother Shanedu, that Fred is the sentiment that Fred has is the sentiment that I'm concerned about, especially with Black folks, that we're going to get to that place. We're finally going to get to that point. And we might feel like the Democratic approach that we're seeing, not just in Baltimore, but in a lot of cities, of trauma-informed policy when it comes to crime and violence. You know, trying to get to the root of how a person has gotten to become a perpetrator of violence, or, you know, restorative justice. Really good ideas, but they may be thrown out the windows if the crime rate ticks up again and again, month after month in some of these major cities, and they're finding that particular approach is not as effective as it needs to be. What's your take, bro?
You know what's interesting? When there's a carjacking spree going on in America currently, particularly one specific event happened a couple of weeks ago. I think it was Joe Biden's granddaughter. Somebody they didn't know, I don't think they knew it was her, but they tried to break into the car and the Secret Service shot some shots. and they ran. And this happened in Georgetown. And if you know anything about Georgetown in DC, it's very affluent. It's so affluent, it barely has public transportation. There was such a surprise that this could happen in Georgetown. And that's the problem. Can I keep it real, Farajii?
Come on, man. Keep it real, bro.
Nobody gives a fuck that there's crime. Everybody's upset that the crime is getting too far to their middle class and first class lifestyles. Because guess what? 10 years ago, there was crime. 20 years ago, there was crime. The crime has always been there. It's just like this whole homelessness epidemic. You all are upset when there's homeless people sleeping in front of your convention centers and in front of the places where you do business. But these people have been singing about homelessness and singing about crime and singing about what did Martin march for in 60, was it 63, 64? Wasn't it about jobs and freedom? Jobs. So when you think about crime, you ask, oh, these people, it's about the household they come from. Let's talk about their household. Do the mother and father who are probably working 2 or 3 jobs, do they have even enough time to properly raise their school, to raise their kids? Can these mother and fathers who are working, because I hate when people say it's the parents not doing enough. What if these parents can't afford to live in a good zip code, because we know that the zip code determines the type of school you go to? People just keep looking at it as crime is a result of policy. Crime is a result of a lack of economics. How do I know this? Because when you go to very, 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 very wealthy countries, very, very wealthy countries, outside of here, you see that crime rates are very, very, very low, with good economic policy, with shared wealth, shared governance. I think it goes beyond Democrat or Republican, because they both be white and they both will say whatever they can to get your vote. What it comes down to is this. It is the policies. And I really wish people would read more. Policies can affect you for over 100, 200, 300 years. It can affect that redlining of 60 years ago. It's still taking effect, because if you look at the areas that have the least amount of crime issues, those are the areas that were affluent 30, 40, 50, 60. Georgetown. You know what I'm saying? Like this
Right.
This is no news.
Right. I think you're right on it. I think you're right on it, bro. And I think I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that crime is the ways that we see crime and the connection to people and to lack of educational opportunities and resources. Capitalism. It's coming from a space of capitalism where there's just the haves and the have-nots, right? And this ongoing struggle and battle, right? And we often talk about, and we hear political leadership talking about the shrinking middle class, right? But it's a big concern, because capitalism can't sustain itself as you're talking about growing this gaping hole between the classes. And so, it's a very real problem. Let me go to Brebe. Brebe, you say crime rate is down, got to stop with the high crime narrative. It depends on who you're talking to, Brebe. In New York City, like I said, they just had a major hearing in New York City, and they showed the data that says that crime has actually gone up in New York City. Now, I'm sure that can be said. I know that in Baltimore, that's been a huge concern. We were unfortunately a small city that was still had over 300 murders a year consistently. Now, to a city that's less than 600,000, that seems like a lot. And then you're talking, as you mentioned earlier, Sinead, per capita. That seems like a lot. So it really depends on who you're talking to, Breve. It's not across the country. And I've heard President Biden say, the crime rate and stuff is across the country, but people are looking at all these different datas and stats and everything, and that's how they come to this conclusion. Let me just see his here very quickly. Lana, you said it's sad that America sits back and allow this to happen to us, just like cattle on a farm. We operate in a subservient mindset. That crime bill wiped out our community. You're absolutely right. And we have to look at the lessons from that moment to make sure that we don't repeat that history. Because Representative Clyburn was a part of that effort to get that crime bill. Kwesi Mfume was a part of that effort to get the crime bill. I mean, some of your major black political voices were at the table. They were there. So how do we make sure that bill it does a 2023 crime bill doesn't get put in place, or rather a 2024 crime bill doesn't get put in place? So I think that's the big thing.
Could I draw
Shanae, what's
something?
up?
Can I draw
Yeah,
something?
bro.
And I'm glad
Yeah,
you named names. You know I love Kwesi Mfume, love him to death. But that's my
yeah,
point. They did that crime bill in '94 that messed up so many people, and that was a bill that Biden was very, very much adamant on too. And now look at it in 2023. Biden is the president, and Kwesi he replaced the seat for Senator Cummings. That is what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. How is that even possible? Y'all want to talk about politics? That'd be my issue. Because in my opinion, if you did something like that, you shouldn't be able to run for shit. You shouldn't be able, and the people shouldn't vote for you. But the thing is, we go and get amnesia. We get amnesia for the politicians and vote the same people who went against our interests, who don't have to pay for it, who don't have to pay for them being wrong. But what's interesting is, I hate to be this passionate, but you know how mad we got at Bank of America in 2008 because of the financial crisis and JP
yeah,
Morgan and the rest of them, because they knew what the F they were doing? We got mad
yeah.
at them. And guess what we did? We bailed their asses out with your future and my future, with our tax dollars. And then these banks were still able to be banks and profit. That is the problem. People who are actually doing crimes, they're not being held accountable. It's the petty thief that we're blowing up as criminals.
And let's keep it real. There's a difference, in according to law enforcement, when you're talking about committing a crime, that's different from committing a murder. But the stats will show that even though there might be high crime in Democrat-controlled cities, in some cities, there are high murder rates in GOP-controlled cities and states. So both parties have a responsibility. They have to be held accountable for this. It can't just be, and of course Trump is going to throw his bias and his slant into it and try to throw his thing to make it seem like he's going to be the savior of America. But I'm going back to the point that you made earlier, Brother Sinead. You had the opportunity to do this 4 years ago. You had the opportunity to do it. You didn't do it. You didn't do it. You couldn't do it. But here's the concerning part. Back in 2016, Trump was more of by himself. There was the shape of the face and the identity of the Republican Party hadn't formed in the way that it has formed now. Now in 2023, this is a different party than it was back in 2016. So now the concern is that you got folks in Congress, Senate, and the House who are a little bit more politically savvy, who understand how government works. They're gonna lay the groundwork for this. The infamous Kiki, good to connect with you once again, sister. You said there is no responsibility of justice in a capitalist system, period. Woo! Come on, Kiki, coming into the chat and dropping jewels. There is no responsibility of justice in a capitalist system. Look, folks, I'm telling y'all, and I know, Brother Sinead, we're going to have to let you go, but I'm telling you, we're going to really have to understand and really have some deeper conversations about capitalism on this space. Because I don't care what none of you, I don't care what, man, look, I'm reading this stuff, I'm learning this stuff, I'm understanding how this system works. Capitalism will make you go from human to a monster, because it really doesn't tap it. And I mean, for Black folks, it does not tap into our natural communal spirit that we have, that we are made up of. It doesn't tap it. It taps into an individualistic, selfish, self-serving, greedy energy, energy sapping system that has made us into what they used to call it in economics, widgets and wadgets. They have turned us into just pieces rather than looking at us as people and as human beings. it has to be discussed. And I know some black folks like, oh man, if we have black capitalists today, and guess what? With that thinking, are we better off just thinking about, oh, I'm gonna get mine, I'm gonna make a whole bunch of money? I'm talking about black capitalists, people that just see money as the driving force and they don't understand the power of people. Yeah, you got some benevolent rich people today, but look at the state of affairs in this country. And very quickly, Brother Sinead, I saw this that they said that the rich, the wealthy, the elite of today give less than what they gave 100 years ago because the culture has changed. Whereas before, the rich and elite were often the ones that the government of the world would go to help to rescue, people and cities and the country. Nowadays, it's not like that. You got a few of them here and there, but the rich, the elite, the wealthy do not really put back in what they have taken out. And you can look at that. Look at the stats. Look at the numbers, folks. Don't just take it on my word alone. But I'm telling you, it's a real problem. Brother Sinead, I cannot thank you enough, man. I always appreciate your insight. You got some final words? Because I know you guys, your brain is shaking.
Yeah. The couple of things is be very careful of who controls the language, who controls the word, what you call a crime, doing something in the streets. Remember, there are people in Congress that short stocks. Look how much your congressman is worth. Millions and billions, people who can invest in stocks that they know are going to move left and right. You want to talk about crimes. Look at what the Supreme Court Justice, our brother, Clarence Thomas, how he was receiving gifts. I want to talk about crimes. Again, language is important. And lastly, but never the least, when you really want to talk about criminal activity, never talk about the reaction. Talk about the action. Because what's interesting is a lot of people who are screaming crime are the same ones screaming free Palestine. You gotta follow the story. The narratives are pretty much the same. You can't slap me, I slap you back, and now I'm a terrorist and a criminal. Who hit who first? That's all I'm gonna say.
And that's all that's all that needs to be said. Reginald DJ Thomas, you said, Brother Reginald, look, Trump doesn't want that kind of smoke. He's just flapping his orange gums seriously. And that may be so, and it may not come from the hands of Trump, but this is the power of influence, that you throw a seed out there, and you may not be the one who kicks it off. But guess what? Somebody in his base, somebody that one of his allies may say, you know what? Even if Trump is not here, I'm going to bring this idea into reality. And that's where the danger starts to come in. See, Trump doesn't have to necessarily be the ones to start things in this country, because now he literally has a hold on the GOP where his people will take people who are more savvy and politically conscious. They will use the idea that he had and make it into a more palatable idea that the American people can accept. And guess what? He just sitting back and he just learning. He just doing his thing. So that's the concern. It's not necessarily about him kicking it off, but now he got a whole base of people that think that his ideas are gold. And guess what, folks? We're going to be the ones that's going to be shortchanged in that's the whole situation. Brother Sinead, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much, brother, for your time, your brilliance as always. Make sure y'all follow my brother on social media. And more importantly, make sure y'all tune back into him because he joins us every week here on the show. But brother Sinead, thank you for being so good for the culture, bro.
Appreciate your peace.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about Black leadership, how they're looking to change the conversation of history, how the CBC is calling for a new holiday in honor of one of our great matriarchs, Mother Rosa Parks, Queen Rosa Parks, and how they're calling for her to be the first woman to have a federal holiday. My question is, do you think this is a good idea? Folks, we'll talk a little bit about that and a whole lot more on the other side. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause to long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Rosa.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. If you missed the first half of the show, you missed a great opportunity. That's not too bad. But you missed a great conversation that I had with my brother Shanedu Wakour, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Specialist, as we talk about President Trump and his promise to bring or deploy military in Democrat-controlled cities to combat violence. So we talked about that in more depth. So if you missed that, make sure y'all check us out. Be a part of Team Replay, as my sister Suzette speaks, as often said, and check out the conversations, because I think a lot of great ideas and some great insight was brought up in that conversation. But there is another discussion that I wanted to bring before we talk about Mother and Sister Rosa Parks and how there's an effort by the Congressional Black Caucus to have her being honored as the first woman with a federal holiday. I did want to talk about something, and I don't know if this is on anybody's radar, but it seems extremely weird, very weird to me, that you have one candidate who is actually running for president, and then another candidate who has said that he's not running for president, having a national debate on a major news network. And I'm talking about Governor Ron DeSantis versus Governor Gavin Newsom. Ron DeSantis, the governor of the state of Florida, Gavin Newsom, the governor for the state of California, are planning to have a debate tonight. Have you heard about this, folks? They're planning to have a debate tonight on Fox News, which is going to be moderated by Sean Hannity. My question is why? Now, they've been going back and forth, throwing jabs and, doing what politicians do, right? Who are on two different sides of the spectrum on a lot of different issues. But this is an election season. You are planning to have a national debate between a candidate that's currently running for president and a candidate and a governor who's not running at all. Yo, I feel like I'm in a Black Mirror Twilight Zone episode because this seems like an alternate reality. Why would you have a debate of like this? And there was this story about this, folks, and I'm going to share with you. This is actually happening, and I need y'all to help me understand this, crew. Would you tune into a debate to watch these two guys kind of going back and forth? And it's like what do they call it? Like a scrimmage. It's like an exhibition. And some politicos are even going as far as to say that this might be good and healthy, especially it might be in the best interest of Gavin Newsom to keep his name out there for the 2028 presidential election. We haven't even got to the 2024 election. How can we think about 2028? I'm really confused about this. Here's the latest around this, folks. Both of these men are considered to be shining stars of their respective parties. For Governor DeSantis, Governor Newsom. But they're going to be battling it out on national TV on this debate. And as I mentioned, some Democratic strategists are saying that Newsom's decision to debate DeSantis on Fox is, quote unquote, a brilliant strategy for keeping himself at the forefront of voters' minds into the election cycle if Biden were to pull out. But this person also argued that Newsom runs the risk of making himself stale 4 years from now. Now, I want y'all to just let this thing marinate on your brain. We're in this moment, we're talking about this candidate, this presidential debate, this presidential election. And you have this as happening at the same time. Wouldn't this confuse people? And I'm not saying that people are slow, but I mean, seriously, wouldn't this confuse some people? So wouldn't this confuse people to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to, and if you find that this debate, quote unquote, now maybe they're going to do this in Fox Studios. Maybe they're going to not do this in a big, and I'm talking about the physical structure of how they're going to debate. Maybe it's going to be like in a Fox studio, like one side and versus type of thing on Sean Hannity's show. But for what purpose? I thought that the Democrat strategy was to try to get everybody to rally behind President Biden because okay, this is going to be our guy, so we're going to rally behind President Biden. But suppose Gavin Newsom sounds better than President Biden on some things. Wouldn't that throw like a little wrench in that plan? Okay. Then for Governor Ron DeSantis, they said, according to this piece from NBC News, that he is breaking an iron rule of conventional politics, never get in a fight with someone who isn't running. But as he continues to trail former President Donald Trump by wide polling margins and has to contend with former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley's surge, the matchup offers DeSantis an opening to show Republican voters he can land blows on a Democratic proxy for Biden. What is happening here, crew? I really need some understanding of this. I know we got a lot of politicos in this situation, and I'm trying to really wrap my mind around this. Again, I think this is like if this starts to happen, and this is why I think this is a concerning thing. Then we're gonna take another quick pause. If this starts to happen, where candidates or political leaders say, you know what? We know we got this major situation over here, but I just want to let me do something right here. Let me draw millions of people to watch me for this other situation, so that way they can see that I got what it. I got it. I got what it takes. Like the whole thing is supposed to be about, and I'm saying the whole purpose is like we're trying to it's hard enough to try to get people engaged and involved in this. But then it seems to me that this opportunity, that this whole debate will make it even harder for folks to really get fully engaged in the main battle, which is the upcoming presidential election and all of the upcoming elections that are planned for next year. Am I wrong in thinking this? All right, let me take a quick pause. Then I want to get your take on this. Post your comments in the chat here as we are streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page. What are your thoughts about Governor DeSantis and Governor Newsom having a national debate on TV, right, to just spar it out, just to see who can do it? Whereas Governor DeSantis is actually a presidential contender, and Governor Newsom is the governor, but he's not necessarily running for office. But people think he is the next guy come 2028. What do you think could potentially happen in this situation? Post your comments. Let's talk about it some more on the other side. Stay with me. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Rosa.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
A lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Brought up the fact that Governor Gavin Newsom, the governor for the state of California, and Governor Ron DeSantis, the governor for the state of Florida, will be having a debate tonight that's going to be moderated by Sean Hannity. Now, this is basically because of the power struggle and the politics of both of these men. And finally, Gavin Newsom, a couple of, I think maybe like a month ago, had agreed to this debate that I think that Ron DeSantis had been trying to get him to get into. Here's my point on this, y'all. Here's my point on this. And Janelle, I hear what you're saying, sis. You said, hey there, Farajii. You're absolutely implying that voters are slow, This debate can be a good thing for Democrats, but because Newsom is not waiting until the main battle to rep his party. Okay, let me break this down and help me. And if I'm wrong on this, you my sister, I'm your brother. You can connect. You can correct me. Am I implying that voters are slow? No. What I am implying, though, is that the political landscape that we're currently in is at a place where we need to keep people's focus on one thing at a time. Now, here's what I would think. Now, you tell me again, Janelle, and everyone else that may have the same sentiments as Janelle. If you find that Governor Gavin Newsom has better ideas, he comes across as being much more fresher, brilliant, all of these great things, right? And you find like this guy's solid, man. Wow. But he's not running for president. He's not one of the people that he himself has even said that he's putting his support behind Biden. And I know that we might be saying, oh, we want to keep his name out there, but it's 4 years from before we're talking about maybe a little bit over 4 years until the 2028 election. So wouldn't that take the focus off keeping it on President Biden and start to look at Governor Gavin Newsom as a potential replacement of this? I mean, wouldn't that kind of mix things up? Because the messaging, people don't want Biden Trump as it is. So if they don't want Biden Trump as it is, and they see Gavin Newsom really being this new voice, this fresher sound, this different guy, he has all of these great things going for him, and he's not running. And then people start to say, well, why don't Gavin Newsom run? Wouldn't that disrupt the plan of the Democrats to kind of keep Biden in the role? So because he knows that he may be going up against Trump, y'all understand what I'm saying? I hope I'm explaining this correctly, folks. I'm just saying, like, wouldn't this be more, you don't want to, if you're trying to put the one guy out front and you know that people are really not with this guy, but because he is the best option against the opponent, his opposition, then why would you show another guy who is possibly could be a better alternative for the guy that you want for everybody to focus on? Help me understand. Help me understand this, folks. This is. I would think this is Governor Gavin Newsom's dilemma. For Ron DeSantis on his side, what's the point? What's the point if you're already down in the polls or you're not seen as the guy for the GOP and you are trying to show yourself up? Then it's like we have to ask the question, well, if you got all this energy, this fire, if you what happens to that every time we have these Republican debates? How come we don't see that part of it, sir? Wouldn't that piss the Republicans off? Okay, that's one thing. Here's another thing. Y'all ride with me on this. And Lana, my sister, you brought up an important fact. Let me go to your statement, Lana, because I'm thinking this might happen. So are we getting into a space now that instead of, we just talked about this the other day, how there is actually a commission on presidential debates. Now, if this is not presidential stuff, that's one thing. But if this is shrouded, this situation between Newsom and DeSantis is shrouded around presidential hopefuls, then I think that's more problematic. But if we're getting into a space where different political leaders can call out another political leader and say, all right, let's go for a debate, let's have it on this network, and therefore, boom, 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 the American people to choose, then should we open the door for Dr. Cornel West? Right, Lana? Didn't you say that? Should we open the door for him? So imagine Dr. West says, hey, I wanna debate Nikki Haley. It's not a part of the schedule for the debates for the Republicans, and it's not a part of the schedule for anybody else, but he calls her out, let's have a debate. What kind of precedence is being set? And then somebody say, well, no, I don't want you to debate him. I want to debate such and such and so and so. I'm just trying to understand because it seems like it could be confusing. Not that, and again, Jay, now I'm not saying that voters are slow because I don't say that about voters. I believe voters should be able to make the decision that they are to make. I don't say that, but I think that a lot of other people think voters are slow, and that's why we constantly have these conversations about getting out to vote, and y'all need to vote, and we all don't understand what's at stake. Because some other people might think voters are slow, not me. But doesn't this add to more confusion? There's already a lot of uncertainty. There's already a lot of people who are not feeling the current political space. They're not feeling the current presidential choices. And then you throw in these new things, and then you change. Oh, no, we're not going to have a debate here. We're going to do it this way. And then it's moderated by Sean Hannity. So do we take all of this stuff for serious? I mean, I got some questions, y'all. I got questions. All right, let me say this here. My sister, Calvin, you said when is the debate? It's tonight on Fox News. On Fox News. You know what I'm saying? If this is the debate, if we doing this, and Lana, you just pointed out, you said black need to be demanding a Cornel West debate. Hey, let's just start debating whoever. I mean, it's like in hip hop, right? You have these battle rappers, right? Like if you want to go and do this, right? See, what's the point of? Hey, look, I wouldn't look at this debate, and then if I found out that I like what Newsom bringing to the table. I like what he's saying. I like his ideas. I'll be mad as hell at Newsom because he's not running. What's the point? You're not running, sir. You're not running into if you're thinking about running for 2028, that's 4 years from now. Man, the world will be a totally different place, God, by that time. But you're not running. We're trying to keep people focused. Help me understand, y'all. Help me understand. Let me see, sir. Willie Frazier, you said the battle of the Sunshine States, huh? Absolutely. Absolutely. The battle of the Sunshine States. Frankie, you said Democrats can open the door for Cornel West. Yeah. Yeah. McCole, you said the debate between Governor Newsom and Governor DeSantis will definitely expose DeSantis in a negative way. Just my opinion. Well, if you don't have if this debate is that one thing that opens them up to negativity, then, but if you have been keeping tabs on what DeSantis is doing, you already know that some of his stuff is wild. You already know. Corinna said, Farajii, why are we not raising the questions why DeSantis wants to debate Newsom? For a number of reasons, Corinna. I mean, I think it's a great question, but I think there's also the answers are pretty clear. Like they're on two different sides. A lot of this is around the policy around don't say gay bill that's happened that was enacted in Florida, whereas Gavin Newsom wants to make is telling the rest of the country California can be the home of progressive thinking. We'll be the home of everyone. You know what I'm saying? Come to California and you can be who you are without no, repercussions. You won't be penalized. You won't feel the consequences of that. So I think that it is. Tiz, you said Farajii, at the end of the day, it's all a political game. Yeah, it is a political game, Tiz, but I think also it can be a waste of time. It could be really a waste of time. Like, I'm very surprised, and I got to take a quick pause, but I'm very surprised that Gavin Newsom is doing this because he's going against Ron DeSantis on Fox News. Now, you might say, oh, well, then he's going to be able to go toe-to-toe, blow for blow, but he's doing it on Fox News, right? So they have their audience. It's being moderated by Sean Hannity, right? So even if he quote unquote wins, he loses because it's not done in a way that is unbiased. Janelle, you said every interview or speech Newsom has given has been in support of Biden, Harris, and the Dems. He'll help the entire party needs to prove themselves. 435 seats are up for election. Is that necessary? Does he need to go on Fox News to promote the party? Is that necessary? If that's the case, Janelle, then what is the whole conversation about for President Biden to tout his accomplishments, right? If he's a surrogate, and if he is actually, he's a surrogate for the president, right? What are we having this debate for? Because you already know where he stands. You already know that, but you're going to go on Fox News to have that conversation? I just don't see the point. Personally, I don't see the point. Look, I got to take another pause. Ramona J., you said we are given decent choices and candidates. Yeah, we are given decent choices and candidates, but at the same time, the candidates that may have some good ideas don't always get airtime, right? We don't always hear from them. So it's hard for the American people to make a decision about these candidates or to figure out like which candidate really has the best ideas because unfortunately media has its own bias as to how much time they're going to give to each candidate. Tomorrow, folks, I just saw this piece and I was like, we're going to talk about this tomorrow. Tomorrow, I just saw this report about Dr. Cornel West and some of the trials and tribulations of his campaign. And NBC News just did a report about that, just talking about where he is and how he says that his campaign is at an embryonic stage, even though they're not getting, they don't have a lot of money. They don't have a strong volunteer core to help him. He's going from state to state. He's trying to get on ballots. I mean, he's working to legitimize himself in this race. So I think that it speaks. I think it speaks volumes about where we are. But I'm getting back to this debate. If we open the door for all candidates to just kind of do different candidates, it's one thing if it's Gavin Newsom and somebody else is not running for president. But it's another thing. It is like it blurs the lines a little bit. But my concern is if the Democrats said, "Hey, we want people to put their hope, we want people to vote for Biden," then wouldn't the best thing to do is to not make sure that you have a person out there who could potentially take the shine away from the president and put it on themselves? Potentially. Not to say that Gavin Newsom's going to do that, but as a voter, if you're sitting at home and you find that Gavin Newsom is a strong candidate, you're going to raise your voice and be like, why isn't Gavin Newsom running for president and Biden just takes his leave? What is this all about? Unless, and this is not, I'm trying to get no conspiracy theory, folks. Unless they just don't think that the president, as it stands with his health and all of this other challenges, will make it through, and that they need somebody to kind of be there, right? But even that is concerning, to say the least. The folks, y'all make your judgment on this. Y'all tell me, but I don't see this quote unquote working in favor for the Democrats. It may work in favor more of the Republicans, but at the end of the day, will the American people truly benefit from this exchange of ideas? I'm gonna say only time will tell. All right, I got to take another pause. When we come back, more conversation. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness, and what happens in black culture. We're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Rosa.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Okay, let's just kind of clear something up very quickly because and I'm going to get to some of these other things, but I was reading the chat and I'm listening and I'm reading what y'all are saying in the chat. And let's just be very clear. This is not a presidential debate. So Janelle, I agree. You said this is not a presidential debate, but it's hard not to think that this is not in a presidential context because you have a presidential candidate, a current presidential candidate who is a part of the debate. And you have a potential presidential candidate that's a part of the debate as well. But Janelle, you said it's going to be to debate the issues. Folks don't even get contacted because they're prejudged. Let the people hear the issues. The issues are two different sides. If Governor Newsom serves as a surrogate for President Biden, and Willie, I think you brought this up. You talked about Newsom being charismatic enough to promote the Democratic message without anyone talking about how old Joe is. Okay, so if Newsom is the surrogate of Biden, right, then why is he going toe-to-toe with a presidential candidate instead of going to toe with a surrogate of DeSantis, right? Y'all remember a few months ago, Governor DeSantis wanted to have a meeting with Vice President Kamala Harris about his stance on a number of bills and issues in the state of Florida, and she wouldn't even entertain the meeting. But now, so it just goes to show you, and some of the reasons that she wouldn't entertain that particular meeting is because they said a vice president, a sitting vice president, in this particular context, it would not serve her well to sit down with a governor like a Ron DeSantis, right, in a political space. It doesn't give her any political brownie points, right? So why not put surrogate versus instead of surrogate versus actual presidential candidate? Why do that? Here's the thing. Here's the thing, folks. Why tease me? Right? Why tease me? Right? If you're about to watch a heavyweight bout, right? You want all your attention on the main fighter at all times, especially when you know that the main fighter has a low approval rating. The main fighter has, people are saying that this guy is not it, that this guy doesn't have what it takes to take this country to the next level. This guy is too old. Like, he knows all these challenges. Show him. Because if you keep showing surrogates, if you keep showing people that are helping to promote the message, right? Sometimes they might be there to help promote the message, but then they promote the message so well. People be like, well, damn, he should be running. He should be running, right? And I'm just saying, I think it puts Newsom in a precarious position. Maybe the Democrats said, you know what? Maybe the state Democrats for California said, do it. Maybe the DNC even said, go ahead and do it. Do it. Do it. Show the world who you really are. Show the world what we got to offer. But he's not the guy that's actually running. He's not running. So we're going to get our hopes up in a person that's not. I mean, yeah, he got some skin in the game as a governor, but not as a presidential candidate. Willie, you said, well, my answer would be DeSantis is Trump-light. With the policies he's put in place here in Florida, Newsom is going on the opponent's field to try and deliver a blowout on policies. Again, tout that. You don't need I don't think, Willie, you need a one-on-one debate for that. Just go and tout the accomplishments. The vice president can do that. And I hear what you're saying, bro. But the vice president can do that. The president himself can do that. I mean, he's not like completely. He can use any opportunity to tout his accomplishments of his administration. If you want people to say that he got it, let him talk about it. Like, say, no, man, no. I don't need nobody to talk for me. Here's what we've done. Why not use that strategy? Corinna, you said, so get rid of the old ass POTUS, but retain all the old ass House reps and senators. Great strategy. I don't think that's a great strategy because we know how that process goes, Corinna, but I hear what you're saying. But hey, look, I think we're putting so much on Biden that we're forgetting about that other part of the process, of the government process. So therefore, stuff like this happens. But I'm just simply talking about exposure. I'm talking about making sure that you keep people's attention on the main guy, which is, for the Democrats, is President Biden, right? For the Republicans, they have a whole different set of issues, right? So they're trying to find their identity. But if the Democrats are supposed to be galvanizing around President Biden, then you got to be very, very careful, right? Like, for example, I think President Obama actually kind of served as somewhat of a surrogate. I remember him kind of going on the campaign trail for President Biden. See, for the voters' mind, we know, okay, this is President Obama. He's been in office for 8 years. He can't run for again. Because if he could have ran, then people wouldn't vote for him, right? But he's a safe choice. People still love him, blah, blah, blah. He's the surrogate. But if you have a person that people kind of like, oh, I can possibly see this guy being a contender against Trump, wouldn't that take away from the spotlight on the president? And so I don't know. Y'all can watch it. Y'all tell me. I'll probably try to get into it. But don't get your hopes up, folks, because Newsom is not running. Newsom is not running. How you feel about DeSantis? Look, he's got a lot of work and a lot of ground to cover against Nikki Haley, Trump. He's got a lot of work. So this is just going to be, like I said, this is an exhibition right here. This is just scrimmage. And if we want to talk about the issues, then shit, man, you need to have all the governors up on it. Don't just have the two sparring governors. We need to have a much bigger platform and a much bigger forum before before we do all of this. And Corinna, you said, yeah, it could take away, especially with the civically ignorant folks. Civically ignorant folks. And I'm not trying to be, and I don't think you're trying to be hurtful, Corinna. I think you're just talking about for those who aren't politically conscious or in tune, they don't keep up on this stuff. I understand it. So if they're not like a political wonky, this could potentially throw a little wrench in the plan. It could backfire. That's what I'm thinking, folks. It could backfire, right? Whereas you got this guy, he's promoting the messages, but at the same time, he's promoting it too well. You're doing your job too good. You sound like you're actually running, Gavin. Come on back in here. You're not running, sir. Keep in mind, you're not running. You're not running. Come on. Come on. It's a mismatch to me. This is not the guy. This is not. I just feel like this is apples and oranges right now. Could be wrong. Y'all saying that, look, man, let people hear them out. Y'all can hear them out. Y'all can get upset. Y'all can be like, oh, man, this is nice. But trust me, just once again, Gavin Newsom is not running for president. Governor Ron DeSantis is. That's what it is. That's the actual fact. That's the actual fact. So we will see how this debate turns out. All right, got to take another quick pause. When we come back, let me share with you this story about Rosa Parks, and let's close out the show today. But thank you so much for tuning in. Stay with us, man. We got a few moments left here on the Culture of the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Let me just share with you, tomorrow is going to be a major, major day. And I thought that we bring this to your attention because there's an ongoing effort by the Congressional Black Caucus that they're calling for Rosa Parks to be the first woman that has a federal holiday. That's right, folks, the first woman with a federal holiday. And members of the CBC are continuing their efforts to make Rosa Parks Day a federal holiday to commemorate her arrest on December 1st, 1955. So yesterday, on Wednesday, CBC Chairman Representative Stephen Horsford out of the Democrat out of Nevada, Representatives Beatty, Terry Sewell, the Democrats out of Alabama, Andre Carson, the Democrat out of Indiana, and others held a press conference at the U.S. Capitol to push for the passing of the Rosa Parks Day Act. They said, quote, this Friday, December 1st, will be the 68th anniversary. And I'm looking at the final paragraph there, folks. This Friday, December 1st, will be the 68th anniversary of Rosa Parks' arrest in Montgomery, Alabama, for simply refusing to give up her seat, said Congresswoman Sewell, who called Parks an American hero who stood up for the values that this nation holds dear. Would y'all like to see a Rosa Parks Day? At least we should have some sort of acknowledgement. But here's one caveat I would say about having a Rosa Parks Day, because we kind of play on this thing. She sat down so we can stand up. Okay, that's cute. That's all cute. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, folks. Let's put her actions into a better context. Like, she wasn't the only one that did it. This was a strategy that the NAACP had tried to thought was the best strategy out of a number of strategies. And that Rosa Parks wasn't just some old woman who just happened to stumble upon making history. She was an advocate. She was an activist even at that age. She understood what was at stake. And there are, as I mentioned, there are other folks that actually did it, but it didn't quite catch on until Rosa Parks did it. They did the same strategy. So I want us to put that into the proper context. I think she should be one of the first woman to have a federal holiday. I don't mind that at all. But I think that we should teach the history in its full context so that way people can become empowered by it. But what's your take on this? Now, Lana, you said a couple of things. Lana, I don't need a holiday. I don't need a statue. I don't need a hairdo law. I don't need a statue. I don't need a coin. I don't need a party. I don't need a concert. I don't need museums. I don't need a new face on a bill. I don't need an insulin shot. I need TV. I don't need TV shows. I don't need a debate. I don't need a bus. I don't need an act. I need jobs. I need laws. I need jobs. I need money. Woo! It's a lot of demands you're putting out there, my sister Lana. But I appreciate you being honest about yourself, where you stand. Absolutely. Absolutely. Monkey Confessions, you said enough with the holidays. They have already turned Juneteenth into a person of color, BIPOC, black, and brown freedom for all day. McCole, you said, I would love to see a Rosa Parks federal holiday. Absolutely. Damon, you said, Farajii, correct. She wasn't the only one who took the only one to sit. You're absolutely right. That's right. We don't know that. Some of us don't know that. I'm not saying that none of us, but some of us don't know that. That there have been others who decided to use the same strategy. Because that was a strategy. That wasn't just happenstance, folks. Back in the civil rights movement, this is the beauty of the civil rights movement. And I wish that more of us taught this. I mean, we do. We have like the various scholars who do talk about this. But the civil rights movement was revolutionary because they did come up with ideas and strategies that they put into place that worked, that created social change. They did do that, whether it was the desegregation of buses with our mother and Queen Mother Rosa Parks, whether it was the whole bus boycott. That these were like planned actions that they took. So I wish that more folks really understood that. I wish that was a part of it because they make it seem like she was this. No, she was a warrior. Rosa Parks was not just some meek old woman who just, oh my God. She was a warrior. And she put herself in harm's way. Y'all think about that. She put herself in harm's way. Real Brooklyn, my brother, thank you for checking in. You said, hell yeah, a Rosa Parks Day would be a great thing. I can't think of a better person to celebrate their contribution to the struggle. She did it without knowing how she would impact history. And she did it as an older woman, right? Knowing that she was going to go into the hands of men, of white men who would not give a damn about her. But she decided to take that risk. Brother Willie, you said, can we understand that our freedom is tied with their freedom, which is tied with freedom for humanity? Amen, brother. Absolutely. Sister Karen, my sister Karen Connor, you said, I disagree with this. What about Harriet Tubman's birthday? Okay. There was a dark-skinned sister who refused to give up her seat. However, Sister Parks was lighter skinned and received the recognition. Okay. Come on, Karen, you bringing out some of the little skeletons in the closet. You're right, absolutely. But Harriet Tubman, a federal holiday. Which moment in Harriet Tubman's history, Sister Karen, can you think of? And it would be interesting because I think that it will be an interesting conversation. But I don't want it to get into a space where Harriet Tubman did more than Rosa Parks and all of that type of BS. But it would be interesting, like what moment in her history and her life and legacy for Harriet Tubman would we honor her? This is for December 1st. Hell, maybe we need something for Harriet Tubman for another day. Cindy, you said sit-ins don't start where they say they started either. Absolutely. Tiz, you said Ida B. Wells did it before Rosa Parks and fought white supremacy head on. Everybody plays a role, bro. Everybody plays a role. I do not want to get in no conversation as if the matriarchs of the movement, they did less or they did more. We're not getting to that. Everybody played a role in the civil rights movement, and we thank them all for their contribution. Who else is coming in, checking in on this? I see a couple other folks here. Well, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I got to close out the show, but it's going to be interesting to see if this day comes into fruition. But here's the thing that I think that we can do. If you want to call your congressperson, your CBC member, to advocate for Rosa Parks Day, we should. That's one. If you want to send them a call or text or email, some of us have, those type of relationships with the members of the CBC, let them know that we should. But then at the same time, let them know that, look, Rosa Parks stood for something. She was a part of, she was a link in the chain. She was in the only chain. She was a link in the chain to make sure that our people get some sort of justice when it comes to the busing situation, right? She was a link in the chain. And then guess what? Tomorrow, let's honor Sister Rosa Parks. But let's also figure out, like, how do we honor the other ones that did the same thing and may not have gotten the same notoriety and publicity? But they laid the groundwork for Sister Rosa Parks to take the stand that she did take. And I don't think Mother Rosa Parks would want any one of us to be going back and forth about who did what. Because she was a servant of the people. She was a matriarch of the movement. And guess what? We're still talking about her today because of the work that she has done with the NAACP and with the overall movement of our people. So, what would Rosa Parks do? We always ask that question, what would Jesus do? What would Rosa Parks do? What would any of the ancestors do? They would want us to continue to take up the mantle, to move forward, and to stay unified as we continue to go up against the same enemy that they had to sacrifice their lives for. We're still in the fight. We're still in the struggle. We're still in the liberation of our people in this country. And so I would say, let's have it. Let's change the game. Let's have a federal holiday for a woman. And if that first woman is Rosa Parks, so be it. But guess what? Like she did back in 1955, if we are blessed to have a Rosa Parks Day, she's going to open the door for more Black women and other women of significance to be honored. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. I thank each and every one of you for joining us. Oh man, I can't tell you how much I love and appreciate the Culture Crew. Make sure y'all do your due diligence. Hit that like button. Subscribe to Black Star Network. Go to our website today, folks. Make sure y'all hit the like button on this broadcast here on YouTube, but go to our website, download the app, follow us on social media, and please give. And big shout out to I saw that we had a new investor, Cirilo Paulo. Let's give Cirilo Paulo a big horn. There we go. Welcome to Bring the Funk Fan Club, Cirilo. You are coming in at a level 1 member. We truly appreciate your support. So Cirilo, thank you for your support of Black Star Network, of the culture here. And you were inspired to give this during the Culture's broadcast. So I cannot thank you enough and I'm humbled that you were felt inspired enough to give something to help us out. So thank you for your support. All right, folks, let's stay tuned. Up next, of course, is Rolling Martin Unfiltered, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Big shout out to my production team for making the show happen today. And I thank my brother Sinead for being a part of the conversation. Tomorrow, I really want to get into a conversation about Dr. Cornel West and talking about, I'm going to share with you what this latest piece around him is saying about his campaign and where he is and how he plans to move forward with his presidential campaign. I am not. And if y'all come in on this space expecting me to never talk about my brother or to never talk about alternative ideas, you're in the wrong place. We are talking about all of those things because there's something of good that can be extracted from every candidate and every idea. We can use that. There's nobody has ownership or premium on good ideas. So I don't care if it's a child or if it's an older person, if they're Black or white, if it's a good idea that's going to take humanity, if it's a good idea that's going to empower Black folks, I want to hear it. I want us to discuss it, and I want it to be integrated in our culture. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Talk to you soon. Peace.